And that's when I got the call.
The call.
The call.
God, everyone loves that. That's what we're talking about. So I guess you didn't volunteer.
No, I did not. I was actually fixing a mirror on an LMTV about, I don't know, 6 feet up in the air, just hanging off this LMTV, fixing this mirror. My motor sergeant opens the door because we had just a random door that led down into the bay, and yelled down there, "Vaughn, did you check your email?" I was like, "No. Do you think I have time to check my email when I'm turning wrenches down here trying to fix this mirror?" "Well, First Sergeant just said that you just got selected for recruiting." I literally stopped what I was doing, looked over at him, and I was like, "What?" And it's like, "Yeah, you need to go check your email. You got a report date for recruiting." I was like, I don't want to do that.
Live from the field, it's the call-up with J.W. Hand.
Hey everybody, this is Jay with the call-up. Today's guest is Johnathan Vaughn, a staff sergeant whose career has taken him through some unique challenges and opportunities, from recruiting in New York City during the COVID era to serving as a virtual recruiting station commander with very little precedent or guidance, to stepping in wherever the battalion needed support. John has built a reputation for adapting and moving forward. Today we talk about his beginning in the Army, his family, recruiting, leadership, and the experiences that shaped his journey. Hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back to the call-up with Jay Hand. We have today Sergeant Vaughn of the Rally Recruiting Battalion everywhere, apparently. Does a little bit of everything here. Fun fact about Sergeant Vaughn, we recruited in the same recruiting station back in ancient times. Not the same time, but, same recruiting station, different times. Recently, we were guidance counselors together here in Raleigh. But like I said, now he's does a little bit of everything for Raleigh here. But we want to know Johnathan Vaughn. So let's know a little bit about you, where you came from originally, where you grew up. You have your life story here. So what were you doing before you joined the Army?
So I joined back. So I was from Georgia originally. So as I was growing up, I started working at like 16, and then I realized I didn't want to go to college for anything. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Some of my family is service members, so it's like, I'll just go do that. So that's when I decided to take the step towards just joining the Army and then figuring everything else down the line. So I joined as a 91 Bravo, which was a heavy wheel vehicle mechanic back in 2012, I believe. Yeah, 12.
So right out of high school, you decided to go into the recruiting station.
Yep, it was right out of high school, got into the recruiting station, just was trying to join the Marines.
Okay.
Went to the Marine office. They weren't there. The Army had their door open. They just waved me in and said, "Hey, come talk to us." And at that point, I really didn't care what branch I was joining, just as long as I could get out of there, just do something.
So you said your family was in the military?
Yeah, so my brother joined a year before I did, and then my stepdad was Air Force, his sister was Army, and my great-grandfather was in World War II for the Army, so it was just kind of a thing, I guess, I had to do.
So you chose a 91 Bravo, which is?
The wheeled vehicle mechanics.
Was your family all mechanics? Did they choose different jobs? What would they all do?
So surprisingly, my mom was an accountant, and she had some mechanical prowess. So she was the mechanic of the household, actually. So my stepdad, he was an aircraft electrician, and then my father was a plumber. So it was kind of more or less like, all right, so I know I'm going into some sort of trade.
Something hands-on.
Yeah, something hands-on that keeps me busy. So that's when I was trying to be a Black Hawk mechanic, but you know how jobs go in the Army. It's like one thing, you're looking at it, the next thing you know, it's gone. Just like I just wanted to be a mechanic of some sort. So he was like, what about a 91 Bravo? I was like, all right, I'll do that. Let's just seal it up. So originally I was supposed to go airborne. Couldn't pop my ears during the physical back in the day, and that was a requirement. So they took that out of my contract and just let me keep 91 Bravo.
Did you join while you were in high school, or when you actually after you actually graduated high school?
It was more or less like I knew I was going to do this after high school. I just haven't gotten through the last finish line of actually joining yet.
Gotcha. So where do you go to basic training?
I went to basic training and AIT, the Advanced Individual Training, at Fort Jackson. So I literally spent my whole time there. They let me come back home for Christmas. So that was actually pretty nice. So I didn't have to take any leave in between those two. I just took it in the middle of basic training. So it was more or less like a break, realization that, hey, I'm in the Army, and then I went back.
What was your basic training experience?
It was great, actually. It was tough for me because I never left home.
Okay.
I've never been outside of the vicinity of my family at that point in time. So it was more or less trying to figure out how to be an adult with other adults that don't act like adults.
Or don't know how to even be adults, really.
That's true, because there were some people in the basic training that was like, how did we get here with you? How did this happen? But it more or less, like, it did open my eyes to the possibility, like, hey, this living by yourself or living with other people and doing the same thing it's not going to be that hard. Literally, you just show up and you just do your job, and then that's it. That's the job. I was like, all right, that's too easy. That's not going to be hard at all. Just got to wake up for PT, and then do whatever I get told to do. That's the gist of the game at the time.
Different than what people might think about what basic training is, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Not the 24/7 shark attacks and getting beat up and all those other things.
No. It's just, if you don't like being yelled at, then you're never going to be able to function as an adult. Because even as adults, we get yelled at for no reason by people we don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, you were in New York. You understand. If you don't mind being yelled at, it's just that they're not yelling at you. They're yelling so that way you don't misunderstand what they're saying.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Yep.
They're just saying it's clear and loud enough to where, yes, it's going to be a stress factor, but that stress factor is going to be something that you eventually learn how to deal with.
Really good point. Yeah. You could say it's just part of the growing up process.
Yeah. It's definitely taking into account to, like, be here in this situation. I told you to do this. Just do it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not necessarily yelling at you, just being loud, or sometimes people's tones are just not the tones that you're used to, or something like that, right?
Yeah, you could also see it as a way that, hey, if he says it loud enough, maybe somebody else hears it, so they don't do the same thing, so now they're not repeating and repeating and repeating.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I never even really thought about it that way. It's a really good point. So you do your basic, you do your job training, same location, similar experience, base training, job training, or different experience?
So basic training, it is a little bit more stricter, but once you get to the AIT portion and then the job training, you start to learn what you're capable of.
Okay.
Right? So you learned what you're capable of physically and mentally during basic training, but now you're learning what you're more capable of technically and professionally, as far as, like, all right, I can learn this. This isn't going to be that hard. I actually am picking up skills that are going to be actually quite useful.
Cool.
And as far as the freedom and stuff like that, you don't get yelled at as much, as long as you don't continue to act like you're a child still. But it's more or less like you're getting a chance to, like, all right, we took you out of daycare. We're going to give you some more permissions. You're allowed to do whatever you need to do within a certain guideline. Just don't mess it up.
I like it. Yeah, well, that makes sense. So they're giving you, almost enough rope to hang yourself. As long as you don't hang yourself, you're good to go.
That's a good ad. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. Good.
Okay. So you finish basic training, job training. Then what's next? What happens? So you went active duty, right? Full time active duty.
Yeah, full time active duty. My first contract was 4 years and some change.
Okay.
So go through job training, get until like the 2 weeks of close to graduation.
Okay.
That's when we started getting our assignments put over the PA system in our barracks, and they're going name by name where you're going, and eventually it gets down to me, and they're like, "All right,
I guess it went alphabetical, huh?
yeah, it went A to whatever," and it's like Private Vaughn, Fort Bragg. I was like, Fort Bragg? Where's Fort Bragg? They're like, North Carolina. I was like, I don't want to go there. And then another buddy of mine got Fort Stewart. I was like, do you think they could let us switch? Like, because I didn't want to leave Georgia at the time because I was still learning how to be on my on 2 feet. And eventually they were like, no, you're going to Fort Bragg. I was like, all right, well, then Fort Bragg it is. Yeah, I spent 4.5 years there. I did the FSC, and then I switched over to
What's FSC?
the Forward Support Company. So
Okay.
they help out the battalion operations with as far as their mechanics, their supplies, all that other good jazz. And then we were at a training exercise down in Louisiana called JRTC, was the Joint Readiness Tactical Command or something like that. It's this training we did because it was for the Ebola crisis that was happening back in, was it 2015, 2016? And
Something like that, yeah.
we were supposed to go repair an airfield down there in Libya or Liberia, and then just support operations for them to get vaccines and medical supplies and stuff like that flown in so we could repair the airfield. That fell through, so I ended up staying with that company up until about 2017. I was trying to stay there even longer, but I got stonewalled because I wasn't airborne. Hey, you're taking an airborne slot. We need our company to be airborne, all this other stuff. So later down the line, they were like, all right, we got 3 assignments for you. You got Texas, Germany, and then Georgia. I don't want to go to Texas. Germany, I just started, I just got married to my wife at the time, so it was more or less like I don't want to take her overseas away from her family. So we'll do Georgia because it's like 6 hours or 4.5 hours or something like that from her family. Get down to Georgia. We're part of a signal company at the time. I was like, I don't know how to work on any of this stuff. Because as a wheel vehicle mechanic, you'll find out quickly that you're not just working on stuff with wheels or Humvees and LMTVs or whatever. You're working on anything that has to deal with an engine and anything that attaches something to the engine. So AC units and all that other stuff, you're learning how to fix, even though you haven't been trained how to fix it. So,
Okay. How did you meet your wife?
when I was at Fort Bragg, it was more or less like he was going to Methodist University at the time. So, all right, we'll hit up a date, and went on a date. And then after the date, figured out she did not want to do anything with me. She was done. She was like, that guy is weird. I don't want to see him anymore. And then eventually, I think it's a year later, I hit her back up. I was like, hey, no, we haven't talked in a while and stuff like that. I want to see if you want to go out again. And eventually, that persistence, I guess, of me eventually led it to like, all right, I want to get married. Do you want to get married? And she said yes. So that's, I guess, the end of that chapter.
So you said she's from Georgia, though?
No, she is from originally from Kentucky. Then
okay.
her family moved down to southern North Carolina, but close to Myrtle Beach. So she just claims Myrtle Beach as her hometown because that's where she went to high school and everything. So met her family. Her dad was previous Army and back in Desert Storm, but he was a electrician in a combat engineer unit. So he saw I was part of an engineer battalion. He was like, all right, I guess you're cool. you pass this first hurdle of tests, but then you have to pass my other hurdles, which was manual labor and stuff like that, because he owns his own electrical company.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
Definitely sounds like a process there.
Yeah, there's a lot of hurdles to get through. But been married now for 11 years, going on 12. So got our 2-year-old son that turns 2 in
Nice.
a couple of weeks now. And it's just living life, loving it.
All right, so we were talking about that assignment. You said you were heading back down to Georgia.
Yep, going down to Georgia. I spent about 2.5 years there with the signal unit there. And that's when I got the call.
The call.
The call.
Everyone loves that. That's what we're talking about. So I guess you didn't volunteer.
No, I did not. I was actually fixing a mirror on an LMTV about, 6 feet up in the air, just hanging off this LMTV, fixing this mirror. My motor sergeant opens the door because we had just a random door that led down into the bay, and yelled down there, "Vaughn, did you check your email?" I was like, "No. Do you think I have time to check my email when I'm turning wrenches down here trying to fix this mirror?" Well, first sergeant just said that you just got selected for recruiting. I literally stopped what I was doing, looked over at him, and I was like, "What?" And it's like, "Yeah, you need to go check your email. You got a report date for recruiting." I was like, "I don't want to do that."
Wasn't something that was on your radar at all, huh?
No. Apparently, back in the day when you could edit your enlistment record brief, you could select like drill sergeant preferred
Sure.
or recruiting preferred. Dumb PFC Vaughn put recruiter preferred, so that way 3 months after I made E5, it was, "Hey, you're going recruiting." And then that following August, it was August because I missed my wife's birthday. She always makes, the Army likes, the recruiting has always made it to where every time my wife's birthday comes around, I'm at a school. And so I missed her birthday in that August. I went to the ARC at Fort Knox, the Army Recruiting College and Retention Program. And because I was very introverted at the time, I was like, "I don't want to do this. What can I do to get out of this? I just want to stay like in this corner pocket of the South. Like, I just want to stay right there." Well, it comes down to assignments. Nothing is available in the South. It was either Northeast, Midwest, or all the way west. And I was like, talking to the Master Sergeant of Retentions that down there, I was like, I need something in the South, like just Virginia below, just like give me that. And they're like, "We got nothing." All right, where am I going? New York City. I was like,
most introverted place in the country.
I was like, why would you take a person from Georgia that has not left the South, like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and just all the way up to New York City? I was like, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense to me. I was like, all right, whatever. I told the wife about it, and she was on the fence about going. I was thinking I would get like a little camper and take it on the back of my truck and just live out of that so I could afford 2 rents. But eventually she came around. "All right, I'll go to New York with you, and we'll see what this is about." About 2019, we get up there. I was like, this is for the birds. Like, I do not like city life at all. This is probably the biggest city I've ever been in. I've went into Atlanta, thought that was pretty big, but never actually went into Atlanta. It was kind of more like around it or through it. And now I'm living in Staten Island on the water, viewing Brooklyn, Manhattan, and New Jersey all at once. And I was like, this is a lot. Getting my feet wet, just basically trying to figure out what is everybody's recruiting style, how to actually approach the people, the land, just trying to get a comfortable feel of it. And eventually I found it to where it was easier to talk to people. It was easier to break the ice with people. It was more, I was coming out of my shell, basically. I was becoming less introverted and more extroverted to where it was still like, all right, I can do this. It's not that hard. And then I found the most satisfactory thing during recruiting was not that it was a break from the regular Army. It was more or less I get to meet the people eventually that will be in the Army and get to learn their stories. And then that was like the icing on the cake for me, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're meeting other people that have been all around the country doing recruiting or have been in the Army for so long that they switched uniforms three or four times, and it was more or less like, I want to do this permanently. But it's like a year and a half later, I got my marketplace open. So the marketplace, you just rank all the availables and your preferences, and then eventually it's like a lottery, and then you might get your number one, you might get your number 350. I got my number 2. So this is the Raleigh Recruiting Battalion was my number 2. Number 1 was Kingsport, Tennessee, just because I love Tennessee. I love the mountains. And they're like, all right, you're going to be the virtual recruiting station commander. I was like, what do they do? They're like, oh, they just make telephone calls, social media and, just virtual stuff. You're not really on for your like numbers or anything. You're just helping out the battalion boost up their leads and get people into the office to expose the community around Raleigh and the Raleigh Recruiting Battalion's area to know the Army. I was like, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. But like you said at the beginning of your intro, I'm not just a virtual station commander. I'm everything for this battalion. I have been in the training room helping out recruiters learn how to recruit better. I've been over here in operations, making sure that things can happen for the other recruiters for the mission. I've been working with you as a guidance counselor down there at MEPS, helping people get into the Army and ship out for the Army and everything like that. And I love it. It's nice.
Well, you mentioned some stuff that I'd love to just kind of explore with you for a second. When we you talked about your early experiences over there in Staten Island and some of the things that made you want to become a permanent recruiter, a career recruiter. Tell me about some of the guys that you worked with there that made you want to make that transition. You mentioned something about the different uniforms that they wore previously to coming on to recruiting. Can we talk a little more about that?
Yeah. So we had, let's see, when I first got there, my station commander at the time, the boss of the recruiting station, he literally just sat down on his couch, crossed his hands, and, threw his leg up on his knee and was like, I don't care how you get people into this office, as long as it's morally and ethically right. I don't care what you do for recruiting operations.
Yeah, that's not too bad advice.
And he was an old head. He just retired, I think, a year after I was there anyway. So it was like, all right, I met you. You're cool. All right, you're gone. But then we had Sergeant First Class Rollet. Rollet was the knowledgeable old wizard of the office. He was in the AGR, the Active Guard Reserves recruiter for the office, originally from Harlem, New York. And
okay.
So he was putting me on to everything because he lived the city. He wasn't just he just wasn't there as a detail or anything like that. He lived there. He had family there. He knew people there, and he was in since I think 2002, or maybe even before that. He was up there. But he also put me on to people in recruiting have different personalities, and his personalities was completely different. It wasn't Rollet, it wasn't Robert, it was Sergeant First Class Rollet. He's like, I earned that rank just like you earned staff sergeant and sergeant, so it's Sergeant First Class Rollet. It's not no shortcuts to that. And I was like, all right, so kind of an old bat there, because a lot of people, they don't care about their rank as much as like that, but I guess he did. Not to bash him or anything like that, but
It's just the people are different.
The people are different. And then we had Staff Sergeant Cabrera. Cabrera was the #1 hitter for the office, so he was
old friend of both of ours.
Yeah, you know Cabrera. He was goofy, but he was also be cutthroat if he needed to be. he was a good dude. And then you had Staff Sergeant Mathis, who was the goofball. I would say the goofball of the office. He knew every good place to eat. He knew the ins and outs of recruiting like the back of his hands, and he just lightened up the office with his jokes and sense of humor.
Also a mechanic.
So we kind of bonded on that one a little bit. But they were mostly out the door by the time I got there,
sure.
so they had like 6 months left or something like that when I got there. Because Cabrera was going to another assignment, some special assignment. I
think he went to the White House, I think.
Yeah,
right?
he did the White House detail. And then Mathis went back to Fort Campbell. Sergeant A.T. was a prior service Marine that went recruiter. He went down to Florida.
And he became a permanent recruiter.
Sergeant Rollet went down to be a permanent recruiter down in Georgia, and I think he's retired now. And then Staff Sergeant Izzy, or Izquierdo, he went back to the line. He tried to convert, and it wasn't really in his wheelhouse. If he converted, he was going to lose his OML for his
promotion potential.
Yeah, his promotion potential for Staff Sergeant First Class. My bad. And we had Staff Sergeant Josie. Josie was a Staten Islander that was a teacher for one of our high schools before she joined, and then she joined, and then ended up going back to Staten Island.
Oh, neat.
And then she went to Hawaii, and I think she's a warrant officer now.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, she was trying to drop her green and gold packet the whole time she was up there, but eventually she just said, you know what, I'm just going to PCS and try something else when I get down there. And yeah, so they just, all their life stories from the time they joined to the time they got to where they were at when I met them, we figured out that 5 of us were at Fort Bragg all at the same time, just in different units.
That's a small world.
Yeah, so Sergeant Mathis was there, Sergeant Rollet was there, Sergeant Izzy was there, I was there, and I think A.T. was there. And we were just like, wait, when were you there? Yeah, I was there this day, and I was like, I was there too. I was over there. I was like, we were literally like all right down the street from each other, but we didn't know that. And it was nice to know that like such a small world happened. And then once I got here and I realized that you were in Staten Island, I was like,
exact same office, and well, they moved the office.
yeah. And then my best friends, I would say one of my best Army friends came to Staten Island to do recruiting. He's over in Seattle now as their VRS.
Oh, okay.
So I'm learning stuff from him. He's learning stuff from me. So we just go back and forth like that. Originally from Arizona as a tanker, but on the weekends, we just lived the city, paint the town red. Just coming back on the ferry from Manhattan at like 4 a.m. in the morning.
That's really cool. Well, so you guys lived over in Wadsworth, right? And then the ferry was that was not that must have been really nice experience.
Oh yeah, I lived like it was definitely one of those lifelong experiences to where you're like, I don't have to live here, but at least I can enjoy it while I do live here.
Absolutely.
And I ran the Tunnels to Towers 5K while I was there. Went to the Ground Zero Memorial multiple times, and top of the Empire State Building. Rode the 360 elevator up the Freedom Tower, and just got to experience the New York City lifestyle without having to actually say I'm living here permanently. So
yeah, you might never have the opportunity to do that stuff again, and you got to do it, knock it all out. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got to call my son a New Yorker now.
Was he born there?
Yeah, he was born there.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was literally born 2 months before I had to leave So
That's really cool. So, you did all the touristy stuff. Your son was born there. What was maybe your favorite tourist experience while you were in New York City?
I'm doing a bar crawl in
Oh, yeah?
Astoria, Queens.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was probably my favorite because it was St. Patty's Day weekend, and we're just doing a bar crawl to different bars, enjoying the music, enjoying the atmosphere of Astoria, and making our way through taking the subway to Manhattan, taking the ferry from Manhattan down to the Staten Island, just using all sorts of levels of transit just to get back home.
Very cool.
and like getting used to that lifestyle.
How was what was your day-to-day like there in Staten Island?
Well, the first 3 months, I tried to say the same schedule I did back when I was, regular Army, active duty, and all that stuff. Waking up at 5:30, doing PT, and then eat breakfast and go to the recruiting office and do the work. After the 3 months, I was like, why am I waking up at 5:30? Why am I doing all these extra steps? And eventually it just fell into get to the office about 8:30, 8:45, depending on how fast I decided to walk that day. And then come in, fix my cup of coffee like I always do in the morning. Sit down, enjoy that first before the day actually starts, then get into it, which was opening my computer, seeing what I had planned on my calendar for that day. If I had a school event, I'd probably be either there earlier or left later. It all depended on what was on the calendar, but more or less the everyday, day-to-day was more or less, all right, this is people I have to work. This is what they have to go through to get done. And then this is what I have to schedule for them. And as a recruiter, you're more or less in charge of their whole process as far as it is to get to the MEPS, or the Military Entrance Processing Station. It's just to get them there and then deal with everything that falls out of it. Basically, if I miss something or if I mess something up, then the MEPS tells me to fix it and all that stuff. Which I'm getting more and more now since I work at MEPS.
You see that side of everything.
I see why I've got all those nasty phone calls from the First Sergeant and everything to fix things.
What part of recruiting was the most culture shocky to you?
I guess it was more or less transitioning, doing things with my hands than doing stuff with my brain, because I can get all the raw information from the applicant, but then I have to translate it through our regulation, through our policies and all that stuff to see if it's even feasible for me to even process them. Because I can miss something completely different that was in the regulation said not to do, and I'm trying to do it anyway, but I didn't think of it. Because in mechanics, it's more or less, does it fit? Yes. Then put it there. If it doesn't fit, then why doesn't it fit? I guess that was the hardest thing for me to learn.
Okay. When do you think it all kind of started? How long into recruiting did everything kind of start clicking for you? When did it start,
Well, the first year I was there, I did 3 months of actual recruiting, going to school events, face-to-face prospecting, telephone calls, all that stuff. Then COVID hit.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was October 2019, I was there, and then celebrated Christmas, New Year started. I already had maybe 3 or 4 applicants I was working at the time to get them across the line. March 13th or 16th hit, and they said, hey, we're shutting down operations right now because of COVID. MEPS is closed. Your office will be closed. We want you to go full virtual recruiting during this time to keep the community engaged, to let people know we're here.
Yeah, so, what did that look like? So you're just doing, waking up in the morning, exercising, then just reaching out to people on social media, email?
So for me, it was even different. I lived in a studio apartment, so I had maybe 730 square feet for me and my wife. That was a test to our marriage, our insanity, The only door that separated anything from the part of the house was the one to the bathroom.
Oof.
So yeah, you wake up in the morning. We had a 8:30 meeting on some web program that the Army used back then. It was terrible video quality. It was awful. And then they wanted you to do at least 3 social media posts, one being focused on exercise and staying healthy. I'm like, I have 700 square feet. There's nothing I can do to record in here to record me doing any type of exercise. So I just went off what I could find on the internet that involved Army doing PT. So I was like, all right, that's going to be my message for that. And then eventually I was able to learn the meta scheduling. So I could literally make 3 posts in the morning and just have it post throughout the day. But then they also wanted small commitments, like the soft commitments, like, yes, I want to come to the Army once things open back up, and then still conduct appointments as we got them through, which was also hard to do because I'm trying to conduct an appointment with my wife in the room, who's also doing whatever she wanted to do that day. And I don't think it would be appropriate to conduct an interview in my bathroom. So that was it. That was the interesting part of trying to figure out how to do those kind of operations while you're in that kind of tight space, that limited avenue of approach, to where I can only call you, I can only text you, or I can only private message you on Facebook or Instagram. So it was definitely a challenge when it came to when things started slowly opening back up, because you still had to do the 6 feet rule. You still had to wear masks.
Yeah.
And then sanitizing. And then we had to do those COVID sheets, like you don't feel sick. You're temping applicants into the recruiting station to make sure they don't have a fever, so that way nobody else gets COVID, because the death rate in New York was terrible. Like, I don't know if it was true that we're doing mass graves in Central Park. That was a rumor or myth or whatever. I'd never actually looked into it, but I know that
That's what you were hearing, yeah.
that's what I was hearing. And then ventilators were going to shortages. FBI was raiding storage units for N95 masks.
It was unnecessary stress, at least.
Oh yeah, I was just stuck there, just recruiting operations, and then I didn't want to take leave. I think leave was actually restricted at the time because of travel.
I could imagine, yeah. So, how long were you doing that before you got an assignment down here to Raleigh?
I got down here in Raleigh in 2024. So it's from 2019 to 2024.
Wow.
I was in New
Okay.
York.
So you went through all that, and then you take over as the. Were you assigned as the station commander for the virtual recruiting team right off the bat, or how'd that work?
You see that there's a team, but there wasn't really a team.
Oh.
It was just me. We had people here sitting in the slots for the team, but there was no really anybody to like teach me anything. So it was more or less like going off of what I knew as far as my virtual recruiting for COVID.
Gotcha.
So that was my approach to everything. Of course, I worked with AP&A to get some ideas, worked with the training shop to figure out what they figured out what works for the area, reaching out to different recruiters here that use social media. But I had nothing to go off of because I had nobody to train me up, because the person that I was replacing was on emergency leave for his daughter. And then the people that were assigned in the positions to be under me are doing stuff for the operations and stuff like that. And it was more or less trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I made a whole Discord page for this battalion, but nobody ever used it.
Right.
I went through the whole steps of lists, logs, channels, sub-channels, all this other stuff, but nobody ever used it. So then I went over, I was like, all right, do some video game streaming, because they gave me a gaming computer, and I was like, I'll do some video game streaming. I couldn't get people to stay out of my office long enough for me to do video game streaming, because they always came up to me to do stuff that, unfortunately, they didn't want to do.
Right.
Then I was like, all right, I'm going to do a podcast, because everybody wants a podcast. I did, I want to say 5, maybe 6 episodes on this podcast. I didn't have the video streaming stuff that you have, or the equipmental knowledge to set this all up. So
don't worry, I don't really have the equipmental knowledge either. I'm just figuring it out as I go along here.
Well, they gave me all these stuff, and it's like, hey, you could do stuff with this. I don't know what half the stuff this is, because I got mics, I got soundboards, I got cameras, I got lights, but I don't know how to set it all up and get it all to run together. And so I did a audio-only podcast that nobody listened to. Nobody was engaged with it, and I always blasted on social media, like, new episode. No, nothing. So eventually it just came down to, all right, the Army's going away from virtual recruiting. So we're going to be dissolving your position, so we're going to move you over here. So I went to battle staff, which teaches you how to be part of a staff and operations and stuff like that. And then I went to guidance counselor course to learn the other side of operations, so that way it can help the battalion out in a more multifunctional capacity, I guess you could say. So that's when I was assigned to you, and then I came down there and helped you out with the GC parts and stuff, which I highly enjoyed, because it's always a day when you get started down there at MEPS, and it makes my day a lot better.
Yeah, it's also fun kind of working with the applicants too, and the individual people that coming through our doors over there. I think that's kind of where the rubber meets the road of recruiting as well. But yeah, I can also see how it's fun working with an insane person like me sometimes. I keep things lively, we'll say.
You do.
So yeah, I mean that's you've definitely had a unique career and some unique opportunities. It sounds like. Is there any particular recruiting stories, like recruits that stick out to you, whether it was with the VRS or work in Staten Island, that you remember, or maybe even at the MEPS? I mean, you've dealt with a lot of people. You don't have to mention any names, but
I dealt with this one young man. All right, so I just got off a cruise. Me and my wife do a lot of cruising. So I just got off a cruise. I was coming by the office to pick up my computer, so that way I could take it home, make sure it was updated for the next week, so that way I didn't run behind or anything. And as I was leaving, this individual was looking into the recruiting office. And I was like, you ever thought about it? Just simple question, ever thought about it? Didn't think I was going to have a full-blown conversation with this guy, because usually I get blown off. But he's like, no, I'm just too old, just I wanted to do it back in the day, but I'm just too old, that sad story and stuff like that. But I was like, how old are you? Just give me the number. It's like 32. I'm like, all day. Let's go. Literally had my wife in the car. I was like, well, give me a minute. I'm going to do something real quick. Bring him to my office, do the interview, and figured out what he wanted to do and everything like that. I believe I made him a mechanic as well. And he thought there was no hope for him because he was old. He had 2 full hand tattoos, and at the time the brigade commander was the approving authority for that. So got it approved and got him shipped out. I think he's now married with 2 kids. And I was like, see, it was just a simple, ever thought about it.
yeah.
That changed his whole way of thinking and his way of life. And that's just one story that just sticks with me, because you meet a lot of people that don't know what they want to do, but then they come sit in your office and then they sit down. I'm not persuading you to do anything. I'm telling you what the Army can do for you and what you can do for yourself. So I don't like to push people towards a certain job or anything like that. I just this is your options. This is what you can make out of it.
With all that being said, what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about recruiters?
It's not just recruiters in general. It's everybody that's part of the Army that's doing recruiting operations, or even the GCs. They think that we're hiding something in the fine line. No, we're just showing you everything up front. We're letting you know this is what the Army is going to offer you. This is what we're going to do for you. And then this is what we can do for you. And this is when you're going to leave. This is where you're going to do your training. This is probably what's going to happen when you get to AIT and basic training. Just the misconceptions are that we're just lying to everybody about, hey, we're going to take your soul away, your life away, and not going to give you anything for it. That's not true. It's all what you make it. If you don't get anything out of the Army, it's because you didn't use the Army. The Army's going to use you, use the Army. That's what I was told from that old bat sergeant first class relay. The Army's going to use you, use the Army. Get all the money, the tuition assistance, the education benefits, the other benefits that we don't even talk about, that people just forgot about, are still there. It's just up to you to use that and to use the training and the knowledge and the skills and experience that we give you to do something with it. Because if you don't do anything with it, you're just wasting that opportunity.
For someone else that gets the call to come on to recruiting duty, what would be the advice that you would give to them? Especially someone that wasn't expecting it, per se.
Personally, and my belief is that if something happens that you were not expecting, that means it wasn't your plan to begin with. So whether you wanted to do it or not, if somebody is telling you that you have to do it, just go ahead and do it to the best of your ability. Because at the end of the day, two things are going to happen. You're going to hate it, and you're not going to get anything from it because you didn't invest into it, or you're going to get something out of it because you invested into it, and you're going to enjoy it. Because people don't take that small break when they're doing something to just sit there and go, I did that. That actually feels good. Let me do this again and again and again. Because they just get caught up on well, I did this one thing wrong, or this one bad experience makes the whole thing the rotten apple or something like that. It's not that. You have to find the small goods that equal out the whole, as I would say. You're not going to always have a good day. You're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a day that you're just pissed off. You're going to have a day that you just don't want to come into work anymore. You still got to show up and make something out of it.
That's not that different from anything else, though.
No.
I mean, yeah. It could be any type of job. Do you think recruiting changed you as a person?
Yeah, I feel like it made me more mature, I would say, because I was always the goofball down in the motor pool. Yes, I knew what to do. I didn't really like to train people on how to do it because I didn't know how to actually articulate what I was thinking to what actually needed to happen unless I actually showed them hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to recruiting, it basically made me take a step back. They're not going to learn this unless I let them fail. Or they're not going to join the Army unless I show them what the Army has done for me. So literally taking a step back of, hey, this is the Army me, and this is the real me. Like, not the real me, but the me outside the Army. We're not the same, but we are connected, all right? Because at work, I can be a complete and total, what am I looking for? Space case, like I am now. But in the real me is like laid back, all right, do what you want to do, I don't care. But the Army would be like, all right, yeah, we have to do this. I don't want to do this, but we have to do it. And then the real me and back home is just like, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. I might be lazy. That might seem lazy, but it's just getting to know who you really are. And recruiting gives you that kind of opportunity to know that and to express that to somebody else. So that way you can relate to them. You can show them that I'm not just somebody in a uniform. I'm a person that wears a uniform. I know what to do. I do it to the best of my ability. But I'm not solely just this.
All right. Well, we're coming close to the end here. I don't want to keep you too much later. I really appreciate you coming here on a Sunday and going over all this. Looking back, you think recruiting was worth it to you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. It opens my eyes to more than just the unit that you're in. Like, I was watching Band of Brothers the other day, and it was more or less like zoomed in on that unit during that time of what they experienced. But then they missed everything that was happening
Beyond.
all over. Yeah. So when you go to recruiting, you're not just solely focused on what's happening there, but you're like, hey, I put in private so-and-so. Now they're staff sergeant so-and-so that does this. Or they went over here and did that. So it's more or less like you're not just solely focused on doing your job, but you're more or less shaping the future of that individual that could go on to do X, Y, and Z that could either potentially become something that's great or that can be potentially something that eventually that will help out others. Like a lot of people that join the Army help out veterans. That one person got put in by a recruiter.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
Before I let you go, is there anything that you would want to say to yourself, 18-year-old self, before you joined the Army?
I tell this to every future soldier I say. So I'm going to say this to myself. If this goes back in the past. Do the work. Volunteer. It's not going to be that bad. It's only going to suck for a little bit.
Thank you so much for your time today.
No problem.
And I really appreciate you taking this little bit of time to go over your story and let me pick your brain a little bit, reminisce about Staten Island. That was fun. Going over the good old days. Hopefully you let me reach back out to you. We'll maybe touch back a little more on this. I think we could have talked a little longer, but I know you want to get back to your family and enjoy this Sunday, which hopefully is going to be a nice day out today.
It looks pretty nice out there.
Yeah, so again, thank you so much. And this is the Call Up with J.W. Hand, and I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to talking to everyone else soon. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to the Call Up. Before we go, I'd like to thank our supporters, Mahalia Baynard, Mark Alacqua, Matthew Hand, Michael Schilling, Nick Sobiak, Rachel Binsky, Strauss Scanlon, Tori Van Dunk, Vicky Anna Perkins, William Hand, Emily Wiesman. Your support helps keep these conversations going. If you've requested a signed headshot, they should be heading out this week. If you requested one and it doesn't arrive, please reach out and let me know. Don't forget to check out the workshop community. We meet every Thursday during lunch at 12 and Saturday nights for after hours from 2030 to 2200. We also have our daily morning brief where we share hot topics and discuss points to help keep conversations going around the office. Be sure to check out our weekly surveys and polls. Your feedback helps keep the future of the Call Up, and it's one of the best ways to make your voice heard about what you'd like to see next. Stay tuned next week for the Call Up Closeout with Johnathan Vaughn, and we'll continue the conversation and dive a little deeper into some of the topics from today's episode. We've got some exciting new projects in the works, more great guests on the way, and plenty more conversations coming. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Call Up.